Most of the conferences, they call a post-lunch session as a graveyard session. And for the right reasons. If you've enjoyed a sumptuous lunch, that's bound to happen. But I'll tell you what, we've got some power-packed set of speakers joining us right away as they come together to discuss about the global logistics trends impacting India's supply chain, and most importantly, what are the sustainable initiatives on a global scale that we are looking forward to. So let me go ahead and first up invite our session moderator, Parthaa Bosu, Innovation and Future Strategies Expert, Domain and Functional Advisory Group. If I could please invite you, sir, to come on stage. And joining Parthaa, let me please invite our amazing speakers. First up, if I could please invite Sunit Mukhejree, Head Lubricant Supply Chain and Operation, Shell. Sunil Kumar, Director, Cloud Application Solution Engineering, Oracle India. May I further please invite Abhijit Sengupta, Senior Director and Head of Business, Southeast Asia and India, Here Technologies. Sojwal Vora, Chief Supply Chain Officer, Manipal Hospitals. And Rahul Yadav, CEO, Axestrack. And the proof of the pudding, if you all enjoy the lunch, is in the fact how energetic is your applause. Can we have a huge, huge round of applause? Bring the energy back in the air. And that's a quick cue to Parthaa to begin this session. So over to you then.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. Session after lunch. We'll try our best to keep you as awake as possible. So a bit of history. Back in the year 2000, I was in the drafting committee of the auto fuel policy. And when I say drafting committee, I literally mean drafting committee because I was just beginning my career. I was actually typing it. And Dr. Sundar, who was the chairman, the Sundar committee, used to say whatever he's feeling, and I used to, and that is my introduction to the subject of logistics and supply chain. But Dr. Sundar had told me one thing, that Parthaa, the success will be that day when we are able to make this sector efficient as well. So, and believe me, it took us a lot of time to work on the efficiency part of that sector. Initially, it was a difficult ball game. The sustainability part was something that the government and the civil society was only talking about. But slowly, it became something related to the brand, and everybody started relating with it. Today, we have an excellent panel where they have come with examples and strategies that they have applied in order to make their businesses more sustainable, A. B, we also have solution providers who are helping the other organizations to make their businesses more and more successful. So without much ado, I have with me Sunit Mukhejree, Head Lubricants, Shell. And sir, I will start with you. And one of the key things that I wanted to know is, how does Shell, or how do you look at this change? I understand that you have been with the supply chain sector for a very large time. What do you think about how the sector has been improving, and what are your two takeaways?
Thanks, Parthaa. So, firstly, let me give you some kind of a background here. So, sustainable as a topic in supply chain has been there for long, but in terms of for the last 7 to 8 years, there has been a monumental change in the way corporates, people, and everyone looks into that. So for instance, we have a powering progress strategy, which basically sets the strategy of energy transition and to become net zero emission by 2050, right? And bases those parameters in terms of the carbon intensity reduction or scope 1, scope 2 emissions reduction. We have done a phenomenal job into that. So our target of having a 50% reduction by 2030, we have already achieved 60% in scope 1 and scope 2. So today's discussion will be much more into the scope 3 part in terms of the transportation. So that's why those things will be of much more important in terms of scope 3. The net carbon footprint reduction, for that also from a 2%, 3% in the last year, in 2023, we have done around 6.5% reduction. So there has been a tremendous amount of progress into this. If I just look into the various pillars of this, the first and foremost is that just looking into the pure transportation part, what are the things which can be done? One is that how you totally reduce, how you totally eliminate, and how do you compensate? So when you totally eliminate, that means you go for the EV charging stations, right? You can go for hydrogen power trucks as well. So those all things are, everyone knows about this. A lot of progress is happening in various countries as well, but this is the place which is to be there. So I am very happy to just let you know that we just started one commercial electric vehicle for us, wherein it comes from JNPT, comes to our factory, and it gets charged in a span of 1.5 hours, traveling around 400 kilometers. So commercial vehicle getting into this particular thing of electric is also a good progress that we have already done it, right? So that is one instance in India which we have started. Secondly, in terms of reduction, so when you say that reduction of emission, it comes into various aspects. For example, we talk about the biodiesel fuels, we talk about the CNG. LNG is in a big way which is coming. So if you look into the things, LNG is one thing is really, really going to help in terms of emission reduction for faraway distances while traveling. When you have the commercial electric vehicles, it's restricted to 300 to 400 kilometers. But when you have 700 kilometers, 800 kilometers, LNG really powers it pretty well. Then we are having our own formulation, low carbon fuels as well. So overall, in terms of reduction of your emission in transportation, combination of LNG, CNG, biodiesel, fuels, and lubricants all put together. And then I'll also link it to the analytics part as well. How the driver behaves. What are the ways in which you can really bring down the emission norms into that? How do you increase the efficiency factors?
Right.
There are a variety of things which is happening to bring into this.
Absolutely. And to be honest, the mix is not enough. I mean, there are more people who are trying new things, and they're trying to bring new parameters in order to see how the ball can be changed into this game of sustainability. When the Green Freight Working Group started way back in 2014 with Niti Aayog and Minister of Heavy Industries, I had several kind of companies on board: Tata Steel, Shell, ITC, 3M. What I never had was somebody from the healthcare sector, and I'm truly intrigued, Sojwal, when I find that you have been a part of this panel. I really want to know, how do you look at this? Tell me something about our sector and how does it relate to the supply chain?
Yeah, not the first time I'm getting asked this question. Indeed, that was also what happened to me when I was offered the role of coming into healthcare within supply chain. But indeed, it's something that, so healthcare, if I have to call it an industry, healthcare services, it's unlike other industries that we are used to seeing, right? And especially in India, it's very few organized players, so to say. And within those, we are still evolving. The supply chain itself is an evolving function, and sustainability is something that we are trying to get to. I can give a few examples what we have started doing, sure. Because we are among the few hospitals. Manipal Hospitals is what I represent, is the largest private hospital network in the country today. We have about 33 hospitals across 17 locations, and this scale of supply chain helps us manage some of these things better than some of the others, I would say. So what are things we are doing? As an example, I'll give you ambulance fleets, right? What we have started doing is we've actually tied up with Google and with Tech Mahindra and Manipal, three of us. We've come up with a solution that actually optimizes the routes for ambulances in a way that when a call comes, an emergency call, the nearest, because we would have multiple ambulances in multiple locations of the city, the nearest ambulance is triggered to reach the patient faster, and then the nearest hospital gets also selected, and the most optimized route also is given. That's an example that, it just, number one, it helps to get the patient faster to critical care, and also helps sustainability initiatives. A small thing that we did, baby steps I would say, is when Indian Oil launched their sub-brand called Extra Green, which is a more sustainable fuel, you probably can relate to it better. We were the first in the country ambulance fleet to go and tie up with them, saying we'll exclusively use this fuel for our fleet. Those small things that we
Absolutely.
did. Another thing I can briefly, quickly talk about home care. We provide home care services. So when a phlebotomist, for example, early in the morning has to go and visit a home to collect the blood sample that's required for fasting check, and typically this gentleman or lady, they would have multiple homes to go on a day, and those can be in different parts of the city. So making sure you go to each of those locations in the most optimized manner, collect samples and bring them back on time so that the samples don't get damaged in transit. So that's another app that we have developed, again, the AI that we have brought in with technical support from another supplier.
Fantastic.
So these are small elements that we are trying to bring in, to bring technology or AI into day-to-day actions that might help actually benefit patients and humanity.
Absolutely. And one of the key things to remember is that there is a flip side of our supply chain management and logistics, right? We do contribute to the emissions, and there are environmental factors to be thought about. Nearly 70% of the fuel that is used by the transport sector is being used by supply chain and logistics heavy-duty vehicles. So we have with us Rahul. And Rahul, would you like to tell me something about what is the global trends? And you heard Sojwal, and he talked about how IoT is helping him, which is excellent. Can you tell us something more about such initiatives?
So, Parthaa, from a high-level perspective, if you want me to compare the trends which are going in Indian logistics space with the developed countries, so from a high-level perspective, I think India is fast catching up with most developed countries in Middle East, Southeast Asia, and other things. But US stands apart. So, US is definitely ahead of the curve. And here we mostly discuss about things like control towers. If you go to US, if you are interacting with US customers, they speak about command centers, which is an advanced layer, which is actually a layer above all the control towers that you are operating. Mm-hmm. Here we broadly bucket all the digital solutions under digital logistics solutions. But US, they see in 4 broad layers, and those are also fundamental from an analysis perspective. They divide it into C. C is getting the inputs. Second is understand. Third is learn. And fourth is act. So C layer is the basic layer, telematics layer, FMS, TMS, transport management system. They all come under the C, where you are getting the inputs. Understand is on the basis of the input, that the driver is standing there, it is going from a trip from Vijayawada to Guntur. Now, what do you understand? It is making a halt at 4 hours, so that is also a C layer. Understanding is the unloading has been done, but it is still detained for more than 10 hours, which is not acceptable. So that is happening at the understand layer. Learn is, can you actually make some learning and make the system smarter over time, which we call that AI becomes smarter with time. So getting or absorbing data, such as that this is a halt where the driver stays, probably, because every time he is making a halt there. So that is an understanding which is developed. Act is the most challenging layer, which is a real-time collaboration of stakeholders. So on a real-time basis, can you involve the various stakeholders involved, such as driver, consignee, consigner, your logistics department, your commercial department, and your sales department. So these are the broad 4 layers. India, I think it's almost there on the C layer. It is a basic commoditized layer. Understanding and learning, we are evolving. Act is something which is the Achilles heel. And it's everybody's pain point. Even the developed markets like US, they are also trying to solve the act layer. But they are ahead in terms of understanding and learning. So C is something which has been commoditized over years. So that is broadly the comparison.
Very interesting.
Having said that, digital transformation is a continuously evolving process. So everybody is suffering. It's not that US has cracked the code. So they are also trying to evolve and getting more intelligent and smarter.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahul. And Abhijit, before I, tell you about, I'll learn more about what hair maps and hair technologies has been doing. As I told you that I have been working with hair maps before, and it has been a fantastic, experience for me to work with. It was erstwhile Nokia, and I am very keen to know, and it was touted at one point of time that Nokia maps are far better than Google Maps. That was the time when Nokia still was in speed. I would really like to know that what has been some of the global trends that you have been noticing?
Thank you. We still are. So it's not only in past, but still are. But I think the important point, what you're mentioning, the how the world has changed in last, say, 10 years, 15 years, in terms of what we see around us, more connected devices, connected vehicles, there's another one, and not only the devices and vehicles, and various enterprises and the government are going through this digital transformation. So more and more connectivity as has happened. And then also on top of it, the requirement of movements of goods, which is part of what you mentioned, what you spoke about. Big trend what we have seen is the ensuring that the businesses run efficiently. That's a extremely important point. There's a macroeconomic factors which pushes every companies to be more efficient. Every dollar saved is dollar made. It's extremely important. Therefore, many companies where we work with them to help to save and make money. That's one big trend. We are seeing a requirement of a visibility of the movement of goods. Extremely important because that helps to take a smarter decision. Also, we are seeing the evolution of big data. Today, the data is available everywhere, and having the data is one thing, and what you do with the data is extremely important. Therefore, the evolution of various machine learning model, artificial intelligence, and generative AI, so these are all evolving. And last but not the least is the sustainability, and that's the underlying and horizontal. Every countries are committing and every companies are committing. So these are various bigger trends what we see around us, and we are working with various industries to achieve those goals.
Excellent, thank you. Every penny saved is every penny earned, right? So keeping that line in tow, sir, I really want to ask you, Sunil, that considering the goal of having a more efficient and sustainable supply chain, how has your company been looking at some of the investments in the technology front, and what do you think has been more impactful in terms of bang for the buck, as you say?
Yeah. So thanks for asking a nice question. So, I have an advantage of talking after all my co-panelists, so I can pick up some nice messaging which has happened, and I can address most of them from the technology standpoint. So, when we look at the innovations, or when we look at the digital transformation which is happening in supply chain logistics, so, the technology has been a great enabler in terms of not just automating the end-to-end processes within transportation, like capturing the orders, doing planning, optimization, getting real-time visibility, doing a freight settlement, and also expanded beyond just the transportation layer, going into the warehousing, automating the entire warehousing, making sure that the inventory visibility is there, making sure that the right items are being stored at the right location, the productivity improvement is there, picking up the right item and making the perfect delivery to the customers. So that all your end objectives of minimizing cost, increasing efficiency across your entire supply chain, and making sure that all your processes are being adhered to the sustainability norms. So everything is being taken care by the technology which is being provided by some of the best providers like Oracle. And to your point, Anuj, you spoke about various layers, which starts from connecting to understanding to deciphering what is really happening and then acting, or collaborating and then acting. So these technology layer that I was talking about, the best-in-class solutions which are available, they take care of everything. They have the best of the technology available in terms of making sure that the intelligence goes into it, like AI-enabled supply chain solutions which are available. You looked at a small demo if you were attending to a session by Madhukar, where he showed a small demo of supply chain command center, which connects all the pieces, all the data coming in from internal sources, from external sources, and helps you take meaningful decisions based on that. So a lot of great insights that you get out of it. And what we have done is we have really helped not just the customers in US, but a lot of customers in India, that we have make them achieve all those operational efficiencies, cost reductions, their sustainability norm. You heard about Unilever, Hindustan Unilever as a great case where they have been able to do a lot of saving in terms of miles traveled. 29 million kind of kilometers was the statistics that we just heard earlier. So much of reduction in CO2 emissions. So sustainability norms, reduction in cost. So all that has been achieved. Bata is another example in India. A lot of operational efficiencies. Asian Paints, which uses, by the way, hair maps to achieve dynamic routing, the optimization that we achieve. So everyone heard about Asian Paints as the kind of benchmark or a gold standard in supply chain operations. So we go to a shop to buy paints, it's always available. So why Asian Paints is number one is because of their efficiency in logistics.
Absolutely.
So that's how the technology has really enabled.
Yeah, and in fact, in a landlocked city like Delhi, it's not doesn't end with Asian Paints. It's your bread, butter, and eggs everyday breakfast that you get is all supply chain and freight logistics. There is no time, but I really want to buy some time. Thank you very much, sir. I heard it. And I really want to buy 10, 20 seconds for each of you more. I really want to know two things that you think, starting from with you, Rahul, what are the two things where you feel that there are challenges and they, at a short time, if we look at those, they can be a very big success and help for the supply chain and logistics sector?
So this could be something which has been discussed across events and across conferences. Mm-hmm. So as we touched upon the real-time collaboration between stakeholders. So there are two types of stakeholder collaborations. One is post facto, which works on a periodic basis, like weekly hurdles, monthly review meetings, quarterly reviews, or even these events and conferences fall into that category. But another is a real-time collaboration between stakeholders, which is something challenging. Like once the vehicle is standing, how can you actually collaborate all those stakeholders to handle that particular exception or to attend that? So that is something which, as a tech providers, we are also working on capabilities like Gen AI, where we can understand and interpret the communications happening across multi-channel. But for industry leaders too, like in SCM, I believe that one of the big investments should go in these type of technologies or procuring these technologies so that we can evolve to the next level of communication, next level of collaboration, and that will solve a lot of problems.
So I got collaboration. Sojwal.
I will keep it to one. I think from my standpoint, healthcare, I think it's a regulatory need I see. So today, the way our policies are designed, the medical equipment are not differentiated from the drugs that in the country in terms of how they are regulated.
Right.
And that's creating a lot of, and now that the country is growing, more and more hospitals coming up, more equipment now being used, we are finding challenges in having, not having that differentiation. So I think there's work going on trying to create a separate policy for medical equipment and medical consumables, different from drugs and molecules. I just hope that this can be expedited as soon as possible.
Got it. Special regulations for the health sector.
From my side, I think the most important thing is upskilling. With so much of technology is already there, so supply chain has to really upskill, and the right workforce is also required to take it, leverage the skills and go up, right? There's an infra, there's a technology. Now is the time for the supply chain, golden time, wherein we upskill ourselves, leverage the maximum, and move ahead. That is number one. And number two, I think supply chain has to have the grit and the power to influence the boardroom as well. Sometimes what happens in terms of the investments and others which are required, seemingly very simple, but that particular area of influencing to the board,
right,
to have those investment for supply chain, which is going to give you the benefit for the business. I think those are the two areas, which is softer skills, but I think it's required in supply chain.
Absolutely. The first one is definitely everyone would agree, but the second one is something that I agree a lot. Top-down approach is very important. Sunil.
Yeah, so I would say use case-based business benefits for our customers that we achieve using digital transformation enabled with the cutting-edge innovations, AI, machine learning, Gen AI, whatever technology can offer the latest trends.
Right. Abhijit?
I think the biggest would be the change management. This is extremely critical because,
absolutely,
all the stakeholders getting aligned, all the functions getting aligned.
Right.
And that is most of the time decides the success or failure of a program or a project. So for me, change management is a super critical.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You have been an excellent panel and you have been an excellent audience. You can prove it by clapping for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And I'm going to be requesting our panelists to please remain on stage. If I could please invite Mr. Jatinder Sethi, Vice President, Channel Business, DTDC, to please come on stage, sir. If I could please invite him. to come on stage to present a token of gratitude to all of our speakers. Some very interesting strategies that could literally serve the need of the hour. We managed to gather that through the diverse perspectives coming in from all the speakers. May I request our panelists to please come together, and if I could request you, sir, to please present a token of gratitude to all of our speakers. If I could also request all of you to please step forward for a group photograph. We'll have all of you step forward for a group photograph, please. All our panelists, all our speakers, along with Mr. Sethi. Thank you very much.